even talk about your experience in motherhood. That adds a whole new level of isolation, and we all know it's there, even if we don't know exactly how to word it. Because a lot of times with motherhood, we know that we're overwhelmed, but it's not just as simple as overwhelmed. Like, so we have a hard time even finding the language to describe what it is we're feeling. And that leads to the feeling, that adds to the feeling of feeling invisible, the invisible labor, the mental labor, and all of that. So the story goes, you have a baby, and for a lot of women, that in of itself is traumatic, because the Western medical system and childbirth and stuff, they're already treating you like a patient instead of just a woman that's simply having a baby. There's all these lights. It's traumatic for you and the baby. None of it is going the physiological way that it's supposed to go. If it doesn't apply to you, don't comment about it. Okay, so you have the baby and you're depleted. You made that baby. As far as I'm concerned, I made that baby. Yeah, my partner contributed to it, but for 9 months, I was the host for that. For 9 months, the nutrients and the building blocks for that baby came from me. Okay? So you pop out the baby. If you was at 100% before, you probably at 50% now. There are women losing their teeth from having children because of the calcium that it takes to make a child. All that stuff came from you. So now you're depleted and you're having to jump right into motherhood. I ended up having an emergency C-section. Was it really? Another story. I've got stitches and I get home and I'm immediately constantly getting up in the way that they told me not to. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. I think my partner only had like 2 days off or something like that, maybe even a week. But the point is, even if it was a week, even if it was 2 weeks, that's not enough time for you to recover, especially after a major abdominal surgery, right? So there's no recovery there. And, I recently told my partner that motherhood feels like I was just living my life, and then suddenly I was shot in the leg or the foot or whatever. And I was told that I had a week for that foot or leg to heal. And now I have to learn how to run a 5 or a 10K marathon. And I've just been going ever since. If you have not learned, I'm gonna go off on a tangent. But anyway, no recovery, and then I'm jumping into motherhood that I have not been prepared for. Not because, well, for one, women aren't told the truth about motherhood. They're basically told that it's like the greatest thing that you could ever do with your life. When, baby, when you become a mother, there's so much that they don't tell you, whether it's because they don't have the language or the experience to tell you. There's so much mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical labor that goes into that. Maybe that's another video. But anyway, so motherhood is entirely too much too soon. Okay? So let's say this is you right here. This black circle around you, this is your capacity. This is like your energy that you have. Let's say this is your set limited energy that you have for everyday, day-to-day life. When you have a baby, now this is where you're having to perform here. And not just being a mother in general, but it's being a mother in the society that we're in. Because we all know that being a mother is not meant for one person. Now all of a sudden you have all these responsibilities. Of course, this is not to scale or anything like that. The circle might be much larger. The point is, you are now operating outside of your optimal capacity in order for you to thrive. Now you're in survival territory, okay? You're in survival territory. You are depleted, okay? You've had no recovery. You're paying attention to all of these things. You're like a computer at this point. This is the way that I describe it. You're having to have awareness of all of these things. You've had a baby, so now pretty much everything is considered a threat. Okay, your hormones are doing what they do. You're trying to protect this thing that you spent 9 months making, of course, and You got, your brain's like a computer. You got all these tabs open of what needs to be done because you're still trying to function as a wife, as you just generally taking care of the house, and nobody's taking care of you. So all of your capacity is taken up by household stuff, wife duties, whatever, household duties, and the baby, which is a lot on its own, because you are now having to you're now having to regulate somebody else's emotions. Your infant, they don't speak English. They don't go by logic. They are vibes. They are vibes only. And if nobody ever told you how to do that, if whenever you cry they told you to shut up and get over it and like just don't let it upset you or whatever, you don't know how to do that. So at the same time that you're learning how to regulate your child, you're having to unlearn what they told you and learn how to regulate yourself just so you can have the ability to teach to your child. I'm sorry, this is getting a little intense for me. Anyway, so basically the point is you have all of the different topics in tasks that encompasses motherhood, and pretend those are tabs on a computer. And you know, the more tabs that are open on a computer, the slower it runs, okay? It does not have the capacity for all of that. You've got 20, 30 tabs open and feel something is very deeply wrong. You don't have the language to describe it. You know that you need help, but it feels like a lot more than what you can verbally say. And that's because it is. So then let's say you go to somebody and you try to express it. More often than not, this is going to be your partner. And you go and you try to express it, and maybe you can't find the words. Maybe you can. The point is, this is a cry for help. You're saying how it feels. You're talking about your experience, and you're met with criticism, false hope, like everything except for what you need, which is support, help, relief. What you need is care. You're taking care of all these things and nobody's taking care of you. And specifically with the false hope thing, it's like being on an island and then somebody says they're going to help, or they're like, I understand, or whatever, and they really don't, because they don't see it, because they've never experienced it, or they just have a lack of empathy. And if it's a guy, more than likely it's a lack of empathy, because we know guys don't grow up talking about their feelings and their emotions and things like that. It's not conditioned into them the way that it is to us, and it's a basic human requirement. And so, not that it's been conditioned into us, they've been deconditioned to have empathy, because children, they don't just grow up like that. Okay, little boys and stuff start to cry, they start to have feelings, people tell them start, so they're deconditioned. They're not naturally like that. I don't believe they're naturally like that. My kids are doing what my kids do. Anyway, so the false hope thing is like being on an island and seeing a boat pass by, and the people on the boat are waving at you. You're saying, hey, and they're like, yeah, we're coming. And then they just pass by. I'm sorry, my phone rang. But again, at the core of it, it doesn't address what you need. And while you're talking about your experience and what is going on in your reality, you've got people maybe telling you, you got this, mama. They're only little for so long. It's enjoy it while it lasts and stuff. And I hate to hear that, because I'm like, girl, I hear what you're saying, but I don't give a damn. I need help. I don't need a cheerleader. I need somebody to get onto the court with me. I need somebody to take care of me, because I've been depleted. I've not had a chance to recover, and you have a baby and you're pretty much just like that, unless you intentionally do something about it, because the people around you probably, they just don't get it. They don't care enough to get it. I don't know what the crap. You become a mom, you're feeling tired and depleted. You feel overwhelmed. You feel god dang lonely, unseen, invisible, unappreciated, whatever, like a work mule. Feeling grief because there's a version of you that's died, like you can never go back to that in the same way that you were, because now there's additional things, children and stuff going on. You are basically on a whole new level of consciousness now. and you can't even say it. You can't talk about what hurts. You can't talk about the pain. You can't say, hey, this hurts, without somebody else being offended or feeling judged. And you're not even criticizing. It's just you're saying, hey, this hurts, and they hear it as criticism and they get defensive. And now a conversation about how you're feeling turns into an argument. How? But not even being able to talk about it, not being able to have your experience received with welcoming arms, with curiosity, with support, emotional support, it just makes all of this so much worse. It just compounds like interest. It just compounds the misery of motherhood. But anywho, so then when you're met with criticism and judgment, you don't feel seen. That's another wound in and of itself, because now you can't talk about it because nobody is observing your reality. Nobody is saying, damn, that is heavy. I can see. No one is acknowledging the weight that you are carrying. And not only are they not acknowledging it, because they're not acknowledging it, they don't think it's that big of a deal until you start falling apart and you're in the hospital. They're not doing anything about it. They're not helping or supporting you specifically. And not being emotionally supportive is like one of the biggest blows. Now you're carrying grief because you can't talk about it. You're feeling even more emotionally isolated now. That feels even heavier. And that's taking up more of your energy. So now you have even less capacity to deal with stuff that you're already barely dealing with. And then it just rinses and repeats. It just rinses and repeats, and it just keeps going. And now there's resentment because you've rinsed and repeat. You've explained it. You've asked for help. You've been promised help, that false hope. You've been criticized after you've been reminding somebody that they said they were going to help, maybe. Or you've been accused of nagging because you're saying, hey, I need help. You're crying for help and they're not taking you seriously. And it's just been rinsed and repeat, rinsed and repeat, rinsed and repeat, rinsed and repeat. So, of course, naturally you start resenting people around you. Because, of course, why wouldn't you? And then, in a lot of instances, the only time you find any like solidarity is with other moms. But even that is only a small comfort because they're also like drowning with you, but they're on their own island that you can't get to because they're going through this exact same thing. There are boats passing by them saying that they'll be back to help, and like none of you have the capacity. You're probably not even at the same location to be able to help each other. It's like you're all running around like chickens with your head cut off, and the capacity that you need to even be able to coordinate with each other is wrapped up in motherhood. Okay? Also, being understood by other moms is nice, but it's still not landing where you need it to. And where you need it to land is in the people around you who can support you. But anyway. So yeah, the emotional isolation in motherhood is goddamn. We're all just trying to get like a little bit of wiggle room so we can, increase our area of capacity or reduce like things that need to be done here. But if this helped just a little bit to give you the language to describe what it is you're feeling, because relatability is valuable. But like I said, you still need it to land in your support system. And I think that's the thing that most of us struggle with, is we feel unseen by the people who are around us. And it's like we have to take these scraps where we can get it, and it sucks. It genuinely sucks. I hate it. But like and comment on this video, subscribe. And if there's something that you have the language to describe that you would like me to try and talk about, leave that in the comments. I'm so sorry. I hope I did not depress you. Oh, any questions?